Hello and welcome to the Insights of Headhunter. Today we will talk about how to master your job search with video. And today's guest is Gillian Whitney
Las
from
Vegas.
Las Vegas, and she is a video coach specialized in LinkedIn video.
Awesome.
Welcome, Gillian.
Awesome. I'm excited to be here. This is a fun topic. I love talking video. I love talking video resumes, job searching tips, you name it. Anybody got questions, pop them into the chat. We're happy to talk. Between the two of us, Tina knows so much about the recruitment and the job search, and I know video. So put it together, and we should have some good answers for everybody today.
So it's the second time we're together on a LinkedIn Live. First time I was on your live and we were talking about sketch notes, and now we will talk about video. So and actually, what was very interesting that I heard you say once is that you help people with the technical part of the video coaching, the programs, and all of that. But actually, the most important part is the it's very vulnerable to be on
Here.
video, and it's not natural, and people don't feel comfortable. So that part is the most important one. So before we go to the technical part, let's talk about what's behind it. What is stopping people from doing video?
Well, it's fear. It's out and out. It's fear. We think about turning on the camera and we're like, just like anything but that. And so I help people get over the fear of being on camera. I help people figure out what do they want to say once the camera's on, and then all the tucky stuff that you need to make a video. But one thing I want to tell people straight off the bat, you have to change your idea of what video is. Video does not have to be talking head videos. I love talking head videos. That's where you turn on the camera and you talk to it and you put it together, edit it, put on captions, and up it goes. But the thing is that ABC, always be creative. We can be creative with our videos. So if you're the kind of person that says, I would rather, wash my cat on a Saturday night than ever make a video and turn it on and look, I have tips for you that you can make videos without turning on the camera, without looking, at the lens, that we can do alternatives. So just know that. So I just want people to be aware there's many places we can do video. Start where you're comfortable, and over time you'll get better at it.
I think it's a really high threshold when you see all the professionally made videos and then you make one with your own phone and it doesn't look anything like that. So I think people they don't want to do a bad one, so that's why they choose not to do one at all. But there isn't anything that connects you better with other humans than video, because I often hear it that when you meet someone in person who has seen me on video, it's like, yeah, you look and speak like this in real life as well. It feels like we already know each other.
Yep. Trust. It builds trust. And if you think about it, if you're looking for a job, if you're a job seeker, two things you want that video can offer you. Number one, it builds trust. And number two, it allows your personality to come through. Because if you think about it, there's probably a lot of people that are qualified for a job. And at the end of the day, maybe they could all do the job. So if you have 10 candidates that all could do the job, who's going to get the job? Probably the person who is the best fit for the company. And a lot of times that's based on your personality. So if you can do something that immediately a recruiter or the hiring people, whoever, can get an essence of who you are as a person, video can do that. Because if we read a resume and we look at a piece of paper and we look at a person, We don't know. Somebody could have written that resume for them. We don't really know anything about their personality. We may know about their skill sets. We may know about their education. We may know they're a great speller, they're good with grammar and all sorts of other things. But we don't know, is this going to be a person that we would enjoy having on our team and working with? And to be honest with you, in today's world, pandemic, we have to have some sort of video skills for meetings, and that's now a part of your job. So you kind of have to learn. You got to do some of it. You got to do some of it, and you got to do it in baby steps. So the first thing is get comfortable, because the more you do it, the more you'll feel comfortable. You'll never wake up and just say, today's the day I totally feel comfortable with video. That doesn't happen. It has to be baby steps, one bit at a time.
Yes, and also do it in a safe space. You don't have to put it on LinkedIn, the first video, the first take you make.
Exactly. Exactly. And I've talked with other people about this before, but LinkedIn offers you the most incredible safe space that you can have, which is their video coaching tool, where if you go into the jobs icon on LinkedIn, you can click on that, and then you see that there's something called interview prep, where you can actually do some video practice with questions that you would typically get answered, that you would answer in a job interview. And you can practice those videos, and no one will ever see that on LinkedIn. That's just for your eyes, so that you can get comfortable being on video. And yet, if you're working with a career coach, or you have a colleague or a friend, you could send that video to them to get feedback.
I think that's so important, because most people who write a CV or buy the services, they show it to other people. It's not the first draft that you send
Right.
to your dream job application. You always make sure that somebody else looks at it, because we oftentimes only see the typos of other people. And
Right.
I think the same rule should be for the videos. Don't send the first one you take. Get feedback from just another person, what they think. They can give you tips how to make it better. I
And yep. Yep. And the nice thing about that video coaching tool is it actually can give you feedback by itself and tell you maybe you're talking too fast. It can give you a little bit of feedback without even showing it to anybody. So that's a good first start. But I agree with you, Tina, that you wouldn't write something and send it without saying, hey, could somebody give me a second pair of eyes? I love that, because you're a second pair of eyes, because you got Tina with two eyes. So that's so perfect. But it's so true in that, you could get feedback and not realize, I'm doing things that I didn't realize, because maybe somebody might say, well, you were looking down the whole time, or you have this weird habit where you keep twiddling your hair, and you're moving your hair all the time, and that's distracting. So it's good to get that feedback from people about maybe what you're doing on camera.
Exactly, because I have received some video CVs, and I must say some were very scary, because first, because of the length, because you
Mm,
have to respect the other person's time. If it's too long, nobody will watch it, and in a couple of seconds you already see where we are going, and you say, no, this is torture. You should show it to somebody else first, who knows and likes you, who would give you feedback, because it's not just talking to the camera, um, just saying what's written on your CV, because that's absolutely not the purpose.
no. And this is probably a good time to have this, let's stop right here and now and talk about what a video resume should be and shouldn't be. And for starters, there is no rules. There is no, like, you just go to Google and it's going to tell you this is exactly what a video resume is. It's a very gray area. But the one thing that I would say from a video perspective, and then you can talk from sort of the career coaching perspective on your end, is that it shouldn't be long. Like all videos, like if I come from a video coach perspective, I would tell people 2 minutes or less. You
Yes.
don't want to have a long thing because, like you just said, Tina, you have to respect the viewer's time. You don't want to be sitting there through 30 minutes of, I was born in a log cabin and, yada, yada, yada. It's like nobody wants to hear that. So you have to think about who's the audience, who are you making this video for, and respect their time, and also figure out what do they need to know and have an outline of what you want to accomplish. So if I was making a video resume, first of all, I would not read my resume. That would have to be the most boring thing in the world. And it shouldn't replace your resume. So that's a biggie, because people think, oh, I don't need a paper CV anymore. No, yes, you do. A paper CV is vital. A video resume is not a replacement. It should be an accompaniment. It should help highlight who you are. So what I would suggest is things like talk about make it short. So let's start with a framework of 2 minutes. So what should you do in the 2 minutes? So I'd say introduce yourself. You might want to talk very quickly about your education and then a couple of your jobs. So, just very quickly, I've worked here, here, and here. Don't go into a big, long thing about it, but just the highlights of where you've worked. Maybe you've run a business, and then go from there. Then talk about something personal. Let us know what your hobbies are, what your interests are. For instance, I like to read books. I might talk about books. I might talk about a book that, why I like books. Books help me grow and learn, because then the person watching this is saying, she's the kind of person that wants to keep on learning and getting new skills and things like that. So I'm relating my hobbies to the job, so to speak. And then also too, I'd probably want to talk about why choose me? What's the secret sauce I can bring to the job? What would make me, out of the 10 or 100 candidates, why should you choose me for these kind of jobs? And you might talk about the strengths that you bring to the job. And then this is very important, have a call to action. Don't end it wimpy, like, you don't want to end like that. You want to end upbeat with a call to action. That's, if you're interested in learning more about me, check out my CV, check out my resume, check out my website, look at my LinkedIn profile, send me an email, send something that says, if you want to go to the next step and learn more, here's how. So that's what I would include as a format. So what would you add, Tina?
I think it's very important that you personalize the video. So it's not about me, but it really is about the company with whom you're talking to, about the position, what interests you, why would you like to work for them? So it's not just applied to all, that you really show how there is a match between you and what they are looking for. So personalize it, because everyone uh, wants to be special or chosen out, that you do something, because you can personalize it. It doesn't take so much time, but it really shows the yeah that you have made an effort, especially for them, and make it good.
Exactly. It's sort of like cover letters. It's like a cover letter that, like, if you apply for a job and you use a cover letter, and I don't even know if those are a thing anymore. I know my stepdaughter said, nobody does cover letters anymore. But I always liked cover letters because it was a way of saying, hi, introducing myself, saying, here is my resume, but this is why I'm applying for this job. I like your cat house, thing, because I love cats and I want to help cats in the world, or something along that lines, so that you can see that, okay, this company is not just, 80 companies I want to hire and I'm giving them the exact same thing, because then they're like, well, you just want a job. You don't really care about us. And people want to be cared about.
Yeah, but I would say most of the cover letters that come, it's me, and
Mm.
nothing about the companies. Like, why do you ever bother sending that? It's just copy paste. So
Yes.
let's go and see the comments. Jeff Young, hello Tina with two eyes and Jillian. My two eyes have shown up to watch and learn. Namaste. Hi Jeff. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Always love Jeff. And he
Ah,
does a
and
lot for the job. He does a lot for people in the job search space. He's always doing great seminars. And whew, you want to know about LinkedIn and you're a job seeker? Follow Jeff. He is the LinkedIn guru.
Guru. We have Jillian or Gian. Good morning, Tina and Jillian. Sounding in to see two of my faves, not to mention both topics of job search and video are never dull.
So
Yeah,
true.
we could talk with Gian about job search and HR for hours.
Yep.
So thank you so much for tuning in. And Mick Adam, oh, he's from Belgium. So true, many forms of video, great point. And he also said, great tip for video test. It's really, we were not born to be in front of a camera. You really have to rehearse and you get better with time.
It's so true. Baby steps. And it took me probably, I used to always be the person because I made courses and I did online courses. I was always like the narrator in the background. So you'd hear me yakking, but you'd never see me because I always had characters or something, sort of like my Bitmoji Jillian that's everywhere. And I would always be in the background. And then when I started doing social media videos, I wasn't comfortable to get on the camera. So I would do those looms where you screen share and you're just a little circle, sort of like about the size of Mick right now on the screen. And that I had to do for a while before I got comfortable. And then, one day I actually turned on the camera and it was just like, okay, I can do this now. So, we have to start where you're comfortable. And over time, you'll get more comfortable. The only way to get through it is in it.
Exactly. So, solid point on the resume writing and have it done for you. I know several, so yes, that makes total sense. Look, yeah, it's when you have your resume written to you, make sure you read it because I met so many people whom I interviewed that they don't know what's written on their resume, and I see the same resume format and wording, and I think like, oh, I already saw this one, your twin last week. So really, even if you have it done, make sure you know what's written there and that it feels you, because recruiters see so many CVs, so we know what's not written by you. It's so easy to spot that out. And Jeff says, good point, Jillian. It's a part of life now. Even after COVID, there will be still times when we have to be on camera. Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah, not just the job search interview. And, I know before it seemed so many of us would do interviews over the telephone, but nowadays with remote work, so many interviews are going to be on a Zoom call or Google Meet or Microsoft something or other. I can never remember what the Microsoft one is, but, and nowadays, even with LinkedIn, we have these LinkedIn, where you can click and never mind too. How about the job applications that at the end of the job application, now they want you to do a 30-second video and you're like, oh, and you've gone through all the trouble of, writing in all your answers. Sometimes you can't save it. You just have to go and do it in the moment. And that's terrifying. So the more you can get comfortable with video, when you get to an application like that, you can say, you know what? I can handle this. I can do it. And think about how many people might actually get to that part in a job application and say, forget about it. And they quit. So if you're the one who says, I can do this, you have an edge over your competition.
Exactly. A very, very good point that you touched, because I often hear from people in my network who come to me very upset, almost crying that
Mm.
They had to fill in the application, and they were given a question that they couldn't rehearse, and then they had 30 seconds to reply.
Yeah.
And it's so stressful.
Yes.
I just got this message earlier today. I was asked to make a short video presentation of myself, about myself, the preferred location, and possible starting date before even
Mm.
talking to anyone in the company. So he felt very upset because he didn't know where they will use the video. What about the privacy? Will they show it to whom? Like, you have to make people comfortable before you can require that they say they record themselves. If you haven't spoken to a person about this position, the recruiter, it really upsets people. And instead of being happy and showing their best selves, if they feel forced, which is never a good starting point, you won't be showing your best side on the video as well. Yeah, it will just be awkward.
Yep.
And that happens a lot nowadays.
Yes, and I actually know somebody that went through this experience, and they had a nightmare. They were in the wrong browser. They needed to be in Chrome. They were in Microsoft Edge, and it didn't work. And so they clicked on to do, like, first of all, they were in the wrong outfit. So they were just
Of
like, oh,
course.
I better go and put on a nice shirt. So they went and put on a nice shirt. Then they came back, they clicked to make the video, and then and it only wanted to work with Chrome. So they had to go out of Microsoft Edge, which meant they lost all of their responses. So they had to copy and paste go through all the questions again, which was, thank goodness they had all their answers in a Microsoft Doc. So that helps
Luckily,
sometimes
yeah.
so that you can do the copy and pasting. And it was so stressful. By the time that guy was done, he was just like sweating bullets. He was so stressed. But here's what I would give people as a tip. If you have something like this, first of all, if you're not comfortable, don't do it. Like, if it's not the right job for you. It's not the right company for
Exactly.
you. And so we just have to say, we're in charge. We don't always have to do it. But if you say, no, I'd really like this job. I know it's just because I'm tense. What can I do? So what I would do is I would look at the question and I would write out my answer. Like, take 5 minutes to, like, hopefully it won't time out or something, but I would kind of read the question one or two times to make sure I understand what they're asking. Because a lot of times people will ask you a question and you're like, not really sure exactly what they want. So
Yeah.
sometimes we want to rethink what it is. If you're not sure, get somebody at home to read it with you. It's like, what do you think they want to know here? And make sure that you kind of understand the intent of the question. Then I would write out my answer and just kind of craft my answer so that I'm logically thinking of how I would respond. And then I would read that out loud 3 times. 3 times it goes into the brain. Then I'd put my piece of paper down, I would turn on the camera, and I would answer it. And I might even time how long my written response is before I read it, because if you've only got, say, in 60 seconds or less, well, you don't want to have something that's 4 paragraphs long and you're going to run out of time. So I would kind of edit it and make it always a little bit less than what's called for. And I had something the other day. I was applying for something and it was a grant, and I got to the end of it and I had to do a 90-second, what would you do with this money kind of grant thing. And I went, oh boy, okay, I wasn't prepared for that because they never told me anywhere that there would be a video. And I did exactly what I just said. And my answer was only 45 seconds. And I went, I don't care. It doesn't matter that I had 90 seconds. It cares, did I answer the question? And I did. And I wasn't stressed out. I did exactly what I said. And then I trust in the universe. If this is the right answer for me, that's okay.
Yeah, I think it's such a good point that you're saying. I also have heard it from candidates that if you don't have to accept this kind of treatment, it just gives you a clue about the company. So if you don't want to do it,
Don't.
don't do it. There
No.
are other companies, and it's very easy, but it's not really yeah, human way to do that, because it's not that difficult to pick up the phone and make a short 15-minute conversation. In which location would you like to work? Where could you start? It's, yeah, companies have to know there is the technology, but how does it make people feel? So I have seen it a lot that people just don't continue with the progress. So the technology is there, but think about the human side as well. If you're forced to make video, that will, yeah. And if your work is not being on camera afterwards, then maybe it's not the best way to go. So maybe some practical tips. I love the one about Lenny.
We love Lenny. So Lenny is we call him Lenny the lens. So what we tell people is when you are on camera, I got a strange thing going on with my window here. When you're on camera, there's a tendency to want to look at yourself. And that is something that we have to fight. So especially when you're on a Zoom call, it's possible that you might be looking down here because you're looking at yourself or you're looking at the person you're talking to, but you have to look up at the lens. And if you're on a phone, it's even harder, because if you're on a phone, you have to realize the lens is here. So if I was looking at this phone, I would want to be looking at this part of my camera. There we go, which makes it difficult. So a little tip that I have for people is Lenny. So Lenny is just a little Post-it note that you can put up by the lens of your laptop or on the back of your phone so that you remember where to look. Oh, she's got a Lenny.
Yes, you can't see the smiley face, but it's next to the camera lens,
Yeah.
smiling at me.
Yeah, yeah. So it just reminds you that that's where you want to look. So Lenny the lens is so important. The second thing is light. Light is so important too. So if you have a ring light or something like that, that can help give you some light. But you don't have to break the bank here. So I tell people, if you don't have any fancy light, the best thing that you can do is use the natural light of the sun. So if you take your computer, you want to make sure that your computer, the back of your computer or your phone, is facing the window so that the light from the window comes in and hits you. If you're sitting the other way and a window is behind you, then what happens is the camera focuses on the light behind you and puts you into darkness. So that's the biggest tip. So make sure you're facing the light, whether it's a ring light or just your window. And that's important. And then the next thing is probably your sound. So a lot of times if you have a microphone, that's great. If you don't have a microphone, use the earbuds that came with your phone or a headset that can go into your computer, because your sound might not be good. And also, too, you don't want to have background sound. So you wouldn't want to have a job interview and you got dogs barking and cats and babies crying and stuff like that. So good sound quality is so important. And a last thing is, if you're posting videos on social media, I'm a big stickler for captions because it's just a good thing for accessibility. Other people can, 80%, they're saying now 85% of the viewers of video on LinkedIn are watching with the sound off. So you're a silent movie if you don't have those captions. So that's just good. And there's tons and tons of free programs out there you can use to get started. Some of them leave watermarks, but a watermark is just like a little teeny logo. So sort of like how we have like a logo up here. That's not a big deal. It's better that you have captions with a watermark than not captions. So there's lots of tools. And if you need any to know, connect with me, follow me. I have tons of resources.
Yeah, I think those are really good tips. And if you have, I often see people on Zoom meetings, they want to show the background that it's nice weather outside or nice view.
Mm-hmm.
That then you just see the view and you look like you're in the police protection program. There is just a shadow and you can't see the facial expressions, because when you're doing a video interview you really have to articulate your motivation, your interest. You have to say those words because hiring managers are not used to doing video interviews. So they will be like, I don't know if this person wants to come and work with us. I'm not sure. You really have to say the words that I'm interested, I'm motivated, because it doesn't come across as well as it would do in a in-person meeting interview. Yeah.
Absolutely. And also too, you mentioned background, and I think background is really important. And, often people say, "What about a green screen? Should I have a green screen or a virtual background?" Now with Zoom, they've come out with a new thing where you can blur your background. And I did that the other day. I checked it out and I found it hurt my eyes. The blurry
Yeah.
background was like, oh, that was like too much. But, you can have virtual backgrounds, but make them appropriate. If you're going to have a virtual background, like if I was interviewing for a job, I would not have like the Disney princesses in the background. Like that might be good if I was talking to my kids or something like that. But think about your background. Does it look appropriate? Right now, I don't have a virtual background. This is just where I am in the house, and it's just a shelf. It's clean. It's nice. It doesn't always have to be a blank wall, but it could be a blank wall. And if you have a blank wall, think about, well, how does my clothes go with that? So, for instance, if I have a white wall, would I want to wear a white shirt? That might look all kind of weird. And think about your clothing. I tend to never wear anything with a print because prints can strobe on video. And that means they can kind of get like wavy looking. They can really be weird. And I know even white is a really a hard color if you're using a webcam, because the webcam sometimes goes into overload and it can overexpose you. So those are, tricks. And also to make sure nobody's going to walk past you. You wouldn't want to have I saw something the other day and some woman was doing something and her kid was like, it was like in the background.
Yeah, those are really good tips. So make sure that you look professional and feel professional, and uh, grab a glass of water if you need to drink, and just if you're doing a video, it's for the others, it's not for yourself. So everyone feels awkward about being on video, so
They
you're
do.
you're not alone. But I would encourage people getting more comfortable with video, because it's becoming more and more in demand.
Yes, yes. And even, the more you can Zoom with a friend or a colleague or somebody on LinkedIn, get to know people, the more you can Zoom, the more comfortable you're going to be, so that when you get on a job interview, you are comfortable being on Zoom and you're not sitting there, you don't know how to undo your mic and you don't know how to do this and you don't know how to do that. And even too, your placement in the Zoom window. Like if you look here, you and I both have a little bit of space at the top, which is good. And you want to make sure that like you're not too close to the camera, you're not too far away. You want to make sure that like I've had meetings with some people and they're like way down here and I'm only
Yeah.
seeing from here up. Well, how could I talk, like if you were a recruiter and you're talking with somebody but you're only seeing from here to here, that's not enough. You don't get to know those people. So that's important. And make sure you're looking at the people sometimes too, that you're not, looking down at your notes or something like that. So all those little tips.
Yeah. So Mick has a question. What video tips do you have for recruiters themselves? So I think it's so important that you look the people in the eyes, meaning that you look at the camera lens, Lenny, so it feels like you have eye contact, because you really need to be focusing on the person. So if you need, ask for permission if you can use the video for internal use, so you don't have to write everything down.
Mm.
And focus on the person in the moment who is there talking to you, because this is what we got at the moment. Don't go on other uh, opening other windows on LinkedIn, looking at the names that the person may have spoken about. Like, don't do that. Be there in the video and make sure that the person feels comfortable. So if that's, I think, the first step, because if a person feels stressed, then the answers will not be the best ones, and we always want to see the best version of you. Uh, any thoughts about how many companies require video interviews? So the pre-recorded video interviews, I think it's that one that Adam means, or Mick means, because most interviews now are done virtually
Hmm.
since last year. So I don't know the percentage, but from time to time I get very, very upset messages from my network, because they were required to do those recorded videos and they didn't feel comfortable. So I hope less companies do them if it's not necessary. There are other ways how to attract candidates, because that's the purpose, because people can choose where they want to work and where they want to apply. So it's their decision in the end if they will make the jump and come work for you. So you have to make the process attractive, and they will evaluate it every step of the way. If how did they feel about this part of the process, and if it was very traumatic, because that's
Mm.
really what I get the feeling that people are yeah, going through. Maybe it's not the best option, even if it's quick and efficient and cheap. We are talking about people. So, and the last question before we wrap up, is it true that I have to do many CVs depending on the specification of the desired job, or just one is enough for all jobs? It depends if you're applying for the same job, but if you're applying for different positions, then there are different keywords, and you need to have the same ones that are in the job description. So
Yep.
because you need to make a match so that you will be invited to an interview. If you don't have the right keywords, you probably will not be invited. So if it's the same job, um, then use the same. But if you're looking for different kind of
Yep.
positions, then you should have different ones. But not like 200 that for every company, but really about positions and what's required there.
Yep. I remember when I was looking for a job way back when, I was a computer trainer and a technical writer, because those were my two strengths. So I could do either or. And I was looking at the time for either position, but I had two resumes very similar, but one kind of emphasized more of this talent and more of that talent. And so I would just look at the job and say this one or this one. And it was really straightforward. I wanted to add this about video interviews that are applications, sorry, video applications. One thing people need to be aware of is many of those are now being automated so that when you do your video application and you send it in, it might not be a human being that's looking at it. And it's a lot of companies are now using artificial intelligence, and they will have the recruiters don't want to sit and watch all these videos. And what they're doing is they're going through and basically the computer is looking at your video, and it's looking for key things to kind of, yes or no, which kind of stinks because you think, oh my gosh, I'm going through all this and a human being isn't even watching me. So, knowing this, what does that mean? Well, think about what they could be looking for. And a lot of times they're looking for you to use the keywords that are being used in the application. So that's a really good thing, that if you're going to answer and do one of those video interviews as part of an application, think about what are the keywords that they used in the job description. And then when you're doing your little write out, what I'm going to say, try and fit those keywords into your speech so that maybe you'll get flagged with the yes instead of the no.
Exactly. And don't use the synonyms, but use the exact same wording, because they can mean the same thing, but it's just what they are asking for, and they want to make a match. And like you said, Gillian, you had two different resumes for different positions, because you give examples of your achievements in that
Yes,
field, which is relevant. So you highlight that one. So it's still talking about you and your experience, but really making the match with that specific uh, job description for that position.
absolutely.
So I would like to start wrapping up, and thank everyone who was here live, and everyone who will watch us on replay. Hello to replay people. And Gillian has so much technical knowledge about the video, and she shares a lot of information. Really, her content is queen.
Mm, thank you.
I have learned so much about videos from you. So check out her profile, and and if you have any other questions, send them to us. And best place to find Gillian is on LinkedIn.
That is the best place. That is the best place, and you'll find all sorts of things. And the one tip I would leave everyone with is the first thing that you should do with video is your video cover story for LinkedIn. That's so important. Just know that recruiters are looking at this, potential hiring managers are looking at it, colleagues, prospective connections. Your 30-second video clip on LinkedIn is the first place you should start with video. So I have a whole article on that. So go to my profile, check it out. Should be number one on my featured list.
And also the advanced one. So lots of resources. And thank you so much for coming to this LinkedIn Live today. I really appreciate you and that you took the time.
Thanks. It was great to be here.
Thank you. Bye bye.